Greetings, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my third reading vlog. Now, usually I have a hard time filming reading vlogs because I film them in both Russian and English, and from now on I decided that they're going to be different reading vlogs. This one, however, I just could not film for just one channel. This is the reading vlog that is going to appear on both of my channels, because this is the reading vlog which is inspired by the band beloved on the both sides of the spectrum. I have been waiting to film this vlog for a long time, and finally I'm filming the Blind Guardian reading vlog. And I've selected 3 books for this video. I'm filming this video in June, after June 20th, which is my birthday. This vlog is scheduled to come out at the beginning of August, and there's a specific reason. And here are all 3 books that I'm going to be reading for this reading vlog. 2 are small and the third one is quite big. I often came across videos on YouTube of I read insert celebrity's name, 3 favorite books, and I thought I should film a video like that. Here are 3 books from Blind Guardian songs that I'm going to be reading for this vlog. First one is, of course, The Crucible by Arthur Miller. This is the inspiration behind the song Deliver Us from Evil from their new album The God Machine. And Arthur Miller's classic parable of mass hysteria draws a chilling parallel between the Salem witch hunt of 1692, one of the strangest and most awful chapters in human history, and the McCarthyism which gripped America in the 1950s. The story of how the small community of Salem is stirred into madness by superstition, paranoia, and malice. The word malice, by the way, I learned from Tolkien, because that word was often in his books. The story of how the small community of Salem is stirred into madness by superstition, paranoia, and malice, culminating in a violent climax, is a savage attack on the evils of mindless persecution and the terrifying power of false accusations. In case Arthur Miller's name sounds familiar to you, this is one of the husbands of Marilyn Monroe. I just don't remember was he first or second or third. Next book is, of course, The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. This is the inspiration behind one of the songs from the early albums. I unfortunately forgot which one. I prefer their stuff starting with Somewhere Far Beyond. And I also keep forgetting that this book Stephen King wrote with another author, Peter Straub. Well, just like Good Omens, which is written by 2 authors. My edition has Peter Straub's name with the small font. This edition is mostly focused on Stephen King. It's called King for All Time. Over and over again, 12-year-old Jack Sawyer and his mother keep moving from one town from another. They change hotels and try not to leave any trails. Whom are they hiding from? Who or what persecutes them? Jack doesn't know this, but he is absolutely sure that his mother is in fatal danger, and he was the only one who can save her. But for this, he would have to cross the line and enter another reality where forces of darkness dwell, and they are ready to strike. This also has a sequel named Black House, but it can be read as a standalone book. And finally, here's the third book, selecting this one. And finally, here's the third book. It's also quite small, it's less than 200 pages, and I deliberately bought the book for this vlog. And the book is 2 Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Phillip Dick, which is adapted into the Blade Runner film. Oh, the original title is quite hard for me to pronounce. Can I call this book the Blade Runner book? I'm going to call this the Blade Runner book. So this film, the Blade Runner, is the inspiration for Time What Is Time song from Somewhere Far Beyond album, but since it's an adaptation of the book, this book, I decided to give it a chance, and this is going to appear in this vlog. And before I picked this one, I was considering the Tenure of Kings and the Magistrates and Other Land for this vlog, and I decided to go with this one because it's sci-fi, it's quite easy, it's quite short, and the Tenure of Kings and the Magistrates it's quite hard for me to read. I started reading but I'm not ready to continue, and Other Land is also quite complex, and also it's a series, not a standalone book. Sure, these all are standalones, or at least they can be read as a standalone. Here's the annotation of this one. World War Terminus had left the Earth devastated. Through its ruins, bounty hunter Rick Deckard stalked in search of the renegade replicants who were his prey. When he wasn't retiring them with his laser weapon, he dreamt of owning a live animal, the ultimate status symbol in a world all but bereft of animal life. Then Rick got his chance, the assignment to kill 6 Nexus 6 targets for a huge reward. But in Deckard's world, things were never that simple, and his assignment quickly turned into a nightmare kaleidoscope of subterfuge and deceit, and the threat of death for the hunter rather than the hunted. Alright, let's start this reading vlog, and I'm going to start with the Crucible because it's the smallest, it's a play. I'm going to go through this quite fast. Let's get started. Well, so I started reading the Crucible. I am on page 17 and I learned a lot about this book already. You know, there are some books that tell a lot in the first few pages than in the books that are entire series, if you know what I mean. If you can see, here's Act 1, and this starts actually on the page 13, because up until the page 13 there are characters and a note on historical accuracy or something. Characters and the actors. On the first page you have the actors from the stage play and contents, and let's say that this book starts on chapter 13. So this book is set in the United States of America, in the state Massachusetts. So the characters of this book live in this very theocratic society. It's a very authoritarian one. Here people unite by ideology, and they willingly give one person or organization and the whole authority. Very authoritarian. These people are descendants of people who were persecuted in England, and now they themselves persecute others who do not fit their norms of society. Here there's this organization that monitors other people's lives. People from outside this community can't learn about it because there are no novels, no theater, no music, nothing. People here are against all kinds of fun, and they believe that people are supposed to be working all the time, so there's no time for foolish things. Sorry. I used the wrong tone. And people who are into the so-called foolish stuff, they are persecuted here because people, they don't trust each other, they are constantly suspicious, and there's the rising of paranoia and malice, like the backside says. And this all resulted in Salem's tragedy, and this was some kind of a prelude. It's kind of like a prologue, and finally here is where the whole act starts. It starts with the Reverend Paris, who is widowed and he doesn't know how to be around children, how to raise them and so on. He does have a daughter called Betty. So this is basically a community of these religious fanatics. Fact about me, the topic of religious fanatics does kinda concern me since I read Carrie by Stephen King. Seriously, in that book I wasn't concerned about the bullying as much as I was with religious fanatism, and this book is definitely about the dangers of this topic. Cannot wait to find out what comes next. So here we have Reverend Paris, his 10-year-old daughter Betty, and the Reverend's 17-year-old niece Abigail Williams. The Reverend tries to heal his daughter, and then Abigail confesses that she and her cousin went to the forest, which is believed to be the resort of the devil, and that they dance. And the Reverend believes that this is the reason why his daughter is sick. And then Abigail is trying to confess things to him. Okay, so in the book there are things that happen to be confusing to me. In this play you have this name Goody Proctor. Okay, so I assumed that it was a name for a woman, but then there happened to be Goody Putnam, and later where Goody Proctor's husband appears, I was very much confused. Goody Putnam and Goody Proctor, and then I realized that it was sort of a name is kind of like Mrs. Frau towards a woman, like Госпожа. Goody Proctor's name is actually Elizabeth. Oh, how I naive, I thought Goody was an actual name. Well, so I'm on the page 42 of the Crucible. I just paused to talk about, in this setting you are banned from dancing in the forest, and the whole story starts because a few girls danced in the forest. You know what this made me think of? Can you guess what this made me think of? Well, of course, the elves from J.R. Tolkien's books. I just remembered that Beren and Luthien began with Beren meeting Luthien dancing and also singing in the forest. Just imagine the Crucible and Middle-earth crossover. Maybe the elves would have taught these people a lesson. So I reached page 50, I finished Act 1, and basically everybody is accusing everybody. And spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. Let's see what happens next. So I have reached page 72. I have come towards a line that made me think a lot. I'm going to read this to you. It's said by Proctor. Why do you never wonder if Paris be innocent or Abigail? Is the accuser always holy now? Were they born this morning as clean as God's fingers? I'll tell you what's walking Salem. Vengeance is walking Salem. We are what we always were in Salem, but now the little crazy children are jangling the keys of the kingdom, and command vengeance writes the law, the warrants vengeance. This line, this monologue from Proctor makes you think a lot, especially this. Is the accuser always holy now? I reached the third act of the Crucible. Here are a few spoilers ahead. So the third act starts in a court. There were lots of women that were accused of having ties with the devil, and they were thrown to prison, and they are about to testify in court, and their husbands are trying to get them out. But what I really want to discuss is why one of these women ended up in jail. It's Corey's wife, Martha. It's Giles Corey, that's his name. It's Giles Corey's wife, Martha. She is in jail because she was reading. Sir Giles mentioned that his wife was reading some books. He was concerned, and now he has to get her out of prison. You know, this is such a scary society where you can end up in prison just for reading. You know, this at least a little bit reminds me of two things. It reminds me first of The Beauty and the Beast, where the whole time looked at Belle and was like, oh, she reads, what, oh. But at least she, spoiler alert, wasn't in jail. And it also reminds me of The Handmaid's Tale, because the handmaids weren't allowed to read at all, and reading was for the commanders. So this book, just like The Handmaid's Tale, it's very much influenced by religious fundamentalism, and both books, although in different ways, show the dangers of such things. So it's June 23rd and I finished the Crucible last night. I thought I'd finish it sooner, but I kept distracting myself. The deal is that when I read these, I keep focusing on the lines, and I did not always look at the names of who was saying the correct line. This book has quite an extraordinary language for me. The characters keep saying excellence before they start a sentence. I don't know if this was acceptable back then. And also, nearly all women in the book are referred as goody. And then I found out that it was short of a good wife. Fun fact about me: after I finish a book or film or TV show or something, I like to go to the internet to find out more about them. I want to find out about the background, how it was created, and so on. I did the same with the Crucible, and then I found out that this was very loosely based on a true story. The characters in this book are real, although their ages were changed, and so were some storylines. For example, in real life there was no affair between John Proctor and Abigail Williams. It was added in the story for the sake of drama. But since I'm not familiar with the original story, I'm only going to talk about what I read. There are 3 characters I hate in this book. I really didn't like Danford, who was willing to hang everyone. I just don't like this whole mentality, either you are with us or against us. It's absolutely dangerous how these fanatics are willing to destroy your life. This is absolutely scary. I dislike John Proctor because he was very mean, although he does come up with a lot of sane phrases. For example, he's the one who realizes that the accuser isn't always innocent, although for the wrong reasons, but he's still right. And above all, I hate Abigail. She was willing to destroy lives just so she could be with him. You know what, on the surface the story is about false accusations, and it's kind of true, they do ruin lives, but on a deeper level we have the story of a young vindictive girl who was willing to destroy lives, to do everything so she could be with this much older married man. I especially felt sorry for Mary Warren. Poor her, although she was a little bit annoying in her weakness. Abigail is the worst. I rate this book 4 stars. I really liked it. It was very good. I wasn't willing to read this. I was like, I'm not interested. It's not your another fantasy novel. But then I went to the bookstore and this book found me. I did not know whether I should get it or not, and I'm glad that I did. Special thanks to the band, because this is definitely that book that I have never heard about until I decided to check out info about making the new album. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next book. Alright, here is the book, and this is The Wiseman Sphere Volume 2 by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the second book of the Kingkiller Chronicle series. Finally, I have them all. I finished reading The Name of the Wind, and I have yet to read The Wiseman Sphere, in Russian of course. Now I can put this on my bookshelf. So today is June 24th and the vlog continues. Now I'm on to the next book, and the next book is the Blade Runner book. I'm too lazy to pronounce the main title. Oh, and by the way, I just want to tell you one thing. Today on Instagram I asked Wacken Open Air if there's going to be a live stream of the concerts, and they said yes, there's going to be, and I couldn't be happier. Of course I'm going to be watching, and I want to talk about Wacken. Wacken Festival is from August 2nd till August 5th as far as I know. And there are bands that I want to see. These are Creator, Burning Witches and Beyond the Black. I'm off to this book. Oh, look at the bookmark. This is a great Demons and Wizards reference. Wow, there's something in this book that wasn't in the film. Spoiler, Rick Deckard had a wife. As much as I remember, Rick did not have a wife in the film, but in the book he does. I guess that was one of the changes they did for the film. Okay, I really wanted to read, but this is sci-fi. Oh, look, here are the ducks. So cute. They're so cute. And so I really wanted to read The Blade Runner in the Nature on Pustava, Turtle Lake, but it's after all it's a sci-fi with all the hard words, and I couldn't concentrate correctly. And second, there's also now it's the evening, it's nightfall already, and it's getting cold, it's windy here, and I don't want to get cold because today I washed my hair and I don't want to get cold. So I'll have to continue at home, but it was still nice to record in Turtle Lake. Okay, it's July now, July 4th. I haven't been filming this vlog in more than a week, but I have been actively reading The Blade Runner, and I have already read the half of the book, and I do kind of feel a little bit bored with it. I like how the terms are used in this book. You have the word Andy. In this book you'd think Andy like a name? No, it's short for android. So in this world, like it says on the back of the cover, World War terminus had left the Earth devastated. The vast majority of animals had died and replaced by electric copies, or something like that, Andys. They aren't the same as the real ones. The real ones are quite expensive. When I began reading this book, at first I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to read sci-fi because of that. You know what, now when I think about it, this is definitely the case when I'd rather watch the film than read the book. It's quite a short book and I am halfway there. Nice Bon Jovi reference here. But you know what, when I read this book I do feel a little bit sorry for Andys, because they seem to have a lot in common with the humans and they're being terminated like that. And so now it's July 6th and I finished The Blade Runner. Well, what can I say? Well, the climax in this book is slightly different from the film. Some spoilers ahead. There's this Andy called Roy. In the book, everything is resolved quite easily. In the film, it's much more complex and it's also full of action. I liked this book slightly better by the end. I don't regret reading this book, it was quite good, but it isn't something that I really enjoyed. Fact about me, I have a Goodreads account and I rated this book solid 3 stars. I think it also has something to do with the fact that it was a little bit hard for me to comprehend some words because, well, it's in English. Am I going to read this again? I don't know. But this is the rare case where I prefer the film. Even though the film is different from the book in many ways, although the core elements are there as well. I won't say much about this book because I don't know what to say. Finally, I can start reading The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. Now, this is a big book, nearly 900 pages. I hope I handle this quite fast. So I read the first 80 pages of The Talisman. I thought this book would take a lot of time, but it's quite easy to read, and if I read approximately 800 pages a day, I'm going to finish this book very fast. I think I understand why the band loved it and then dedicated a song to it, because this book is basically about traveling to a parallel world, and the protagonist is a child. This isn't something that I read in a Stephen King book. His books that I previously read, like Misery and Different Seasons and Carrie and so on, sure, some of them they did feature some mystical or magical stuff or something, but not something like this. I haven't encountered a Stephen King book that had something to do with parallel worlds, well, except probably The Dark Tower. Basically, the premise of this book is your standard fantasy quest, like the never-ending story. Go there, find this, save them, blah blah blah, and so on. And it's just the beginning. I will definitely wonder what's going to become next. I think this is going to become a candidate to enter my favorite books list. Also, this book has a very interesting dialogue. Can we fly there? No, no. Lord of the Rings in a nutshell. It's August 2nd, and finally, the moment I have been waiting for came. I am watching the live stream of Wacken Open Air, and now the band that has to perform is Beyond the Black. I watched Battle Beast and Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. Well, I heard some of their songs while watching the Nuclear Blast live stream on YouTube. I'm not a fan of Beyond the Black, but I did decide to watch the live stream. Can you imagine, I don't know the majority of the bands performing, but I wouldn't mind watching them. But I definitely want to see Creator live and Burning Witches. You know what I like about Wacken? I like how many different metal bands from different countries, they arrive to Wacken to perform. They speak different languages and they all speak English on stage, and I like their accents a lot. They're nice to hear. The thing I do like about Beyond the Black is that it's the first metal band I came across which has at least one band member. It's the lead singer, who is actually younger than me. Everyone I have come across, even Burning Witches, they are all older than me. Well, there is one aspect of Wacken I do want to discuss, but I'm going to discuss it tomorrow. Now I'm going to enjoy watching Beyond the Black. So Beyond the Black's concert ended and it was absolutely magnificent. I like them so much that I followed them on Spotify, Instagram and TikTok. Their TikToks are actually lots of fun. I heard this band for the first time in July 2020 when they were performing on Wacken Worldwide. I was waiting for a Blind Guardian concert and they were before Blind Guardian, and I caught them, and I can say that when I was watching the live stream I just couldn't pull my eyes off the singer. But funny thing is that I caught Beyond the Black while waiting for Blind Guardian, and now I caught other bands while waiting for Beyond the Black. Evolution. I really liked their songs Is Anybody Out There and reincarnation. Definitely catchy tunes. Oh, by the way, I completely forgot about the books. Here's the Talisman. Well, I have less than 250 pages left. I will discuss the book properly later. Today I read more than 200 pages. I'm going to finish it soon. Alright, so it's now August 3rd. Here's what I wanted to talk about regarding Wacken Open Air. Okay, this is sort of a controversial issue. I don't think anyone noticed this, but I did. It's quite an interesting topic to discuss. So, in between songs, there is some Wacken Open Air going on. Okay, I can say that I had these thoughts ever since the last Wacken Open Air, and it has something to do with the words the lead singers say between songs. If you have attended concerts or at least seen the live streams, like I did, so you probably know that the lead singers, they kinda like entertaining their audience and be like, we are glad to see you, I hope you are entertained, blah 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 blah. You got the point. Now we announce the next song and things like that. The bands that are German, they say these things in German, of course. Okay, now here comes the slightly controversial point. On one hand, that makes sense because this festival is German and the bands are German and part of the audience is also German, and yeah. But on the other hand, Wacken is an international event and people all over the world come to that festival, and also people, they live stream this event, while the vast majority of people, they don't understand German. If it was a local show, then okay, but when you have such a large event like Wacken, maybe the vast majority of audience should be included. Maybe. But at the same time, I do realize that I myself don't always make content for English-speaking audience and vice versa. Fact about me, when I try to film the same type of video in both languages, details, they're slightly different. Sometimes I say something in the English version and not in the Russian version, and vice versa. I don't do that on purpose, but sometimes it just happens when I just speak my mind, and I sometimes struggle to come up with right words, and sometimes just words, they come to my mind and I say them. Even this vlog, the English version, may have a few differences from the Russian one, and I decided not to fix anything and to leave things as they are. I like that there are some differences, minor differences, in both videos. Yeah, that's not a wise thing to say. Here I did want to talk about the differences between my two channels, and I do want to point out that the English channel is much more interesting to me because I get to discuss the variety. Yeah, the language issue is a very quite touchy subject, or maybe I'm biased, I don't know. What do you think about that? Let me know down in the comments. What do you think? Maybe this topic shouldn't be discussed. And now I have to go out because today is my friend's birthday and I need to get her a gift. Okay, so here I bought the gift. It's a book in Georgian, but you can guess the title by looking at the cover. I think you guessed what book it is. Here's the gift from my friend, and I also wrote her a small letter where I described to her what this book is about. I wrote it in both Georgian and English. I really hope she likes the book, even though she is not into books. I have been gifting her my favorite books. The first book I gifted her was And Then There Went On by Agatha Christie, and the second one was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. To my other friend I gifted Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and Anxious People by Frederick Backman. So now it's August 5th and I have finished the Talisman. I nearly said The Shining because this book doesn't contain a few references to The Shining, and in overall there are plot elements that do resemble The Shining. So this book literally, spoiler alert, starts and ends in a hotel, and there's this wise old man guiding the young boy. The world of magic opens and so on. Compared to other Stephen King novels, is more fantasy-like, and at the end, spoiler alert, when Jack and Richard, they unite and they go on their adventure, I was like Frodo and Sam on their journey to Mordor, and the Talisman does kinda resemble the ring. It's kinda obvious to me that Stephen King did take influence from Lord of the Rings to write this. Oh, Stephen King and Peter Straub. I forgot that there are two authors again. But at the end of the book I did remember the Dark Tower. While reading this, I thought there is some kind of connection to the Dark Tower series. And then I found out, spoiler alert, that the connection is in the sequel, The Black House. Although I don't think I will read Black House. So recently I have released a video called Books I Want to Read, or something like that. I forgot the title of my own video, yes. And I said that I wanted to read The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. It's a Stephen King book. But when I finished this one, I decided I want to go with the Dreamcatcher. For some reason that one sounds even more interesting. But The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon still sounds interesting to me. In overall, I enjoyed this book. It was absolutely amazing. And I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. Spoiler alert, I do kind of feel for one character and his death. If you read the book, you know who I mean. While reading this book, I hated Richard. I thought he was absolutely annoying, and then I was like, please kill him off, please kill him off. Luckily, he then gets better. Sure, Richard Sloat is a traumatized kid, and he was affected by the territories, what he saw in the closet. Yeah, this is sort of a Narnia reference. Richard is this character who is like, I don't do fantasy, I only follow logic, I only read logical books, and I refuse to accept the imagination part, blah 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 blah. But eventually he has to accept the fantasy part, the territories. In general, in this book, the territories is kinda like Stephen King's own Middle Earth. And there are also these cursed lands. This is sort of the Mordor. It is mentioned in the book that apart from the cursed lands, although I think it was different in the original, the territories are in general a good place, a kind place. There are a lot of things that they were translated differently from the original. Territories are the Dales. This is sort of a dark fantasy, but there's still hope and heart and even warmth here. And in general, this is a more positive book. You wouldn't expect that from Stephen King, but here it is. Maybe that was because he wasn't the sole writer of this book, but still. Anyway, here are all 3 books that I read for this vlog. Okay, I absolutely loved these 2. I appreciate them a lot, and I will reread them again. They were absolutely magnificent. I knew right away that I would like them a lot. And this one, on the other hand, while it was kinda okay, but then you remember the film adaptation, and the film is definitely better than this. I think that sooner or later this book is going to leave my shelves. These 2 are staying. They are very good. Maybe this one is going to leave only in case if I replace the edition, because I want myself the hardcover. And this edition is quite cool, it's staying. Now that I have read these books, I can make another video. This is also related to the books from the Black and songs. Also, I do kind of feel a little bit sad about the Wacken Open Air thing. Here's the deal. There are 8 stages on Wacken, and only 2 got live streamed. I really wanted to see Burning Witches, but they were at the stage where that was not live streamed. This was kind of disappointing to me. And Creator, on the other hand, I could have seen, because they did perform on the right stage, but I was at my friend's birthday party, so I couldn't. Maybe one day I'll get to see them live and I wouldn't have to worry about the live stream. Anyway, that's all. This vlog is officially over. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Have you read one of these books? What are your opinions? Let me know down in the comments. See you in my next vlog or in my other videos. Goodbye.